Greetings. Welcome to the Nexus. This edition, I'm going to be reviewing some films. These are documentaries, like I said before. I wanted to do a separate segment on them because some of them are pretty heavy. Yeah, I mean, I have the day off, and I got to go do laundry, but in between that, what would be better than making a vid about some really cool films to watch and share them with other folks. So anyway, the first film that I would like to review is a film called Lake of Fire. This film deals with the topic of abortion, and it does what a documentary does best. It lets the subject matter speak for itself and doesn't try to take an angle. There are many social commentators in it that give their own perspective on things, but there's also people that are protest on both sides of the issue, and there's a victim of a clinic bombing that talks about her experience, and yeah, they get a lot of perspectives. They accompany a patient. She goes to get an abortion, and yeah, it's a film that I think you definitely want to be in a serious mood when you watch it, but it could be a film that would spark some introspection, no matter what your position. And I'll just leave it at that. It's a really good piece. The next film that I wanted to talk about is an important film, S-21. This film deals with the killing fields, the Cambodian experience under the Khmer Rouge, and S-21 was a detention facility that was used to torture and kill many people. I think 17,000 people. Yeah, it's like a really heavy thing to watch, and it can get very emotional. I wouldn't recommend it watching it alone if you're really sensitive, but it's an important document and really details a part of history that we need to remember. It's much like, you know, when people make films about the Holocaust. Well, this film details the Cambodian experience of the Khmer Rouge and some of the human rights atrocities that were committed by them, and some of the people that survived that experience. Yeah, there's not much more to say about it except be prepared when you watch it. There are points in it that are emotionally disturbing. Anyway, and speaking of disturbing, but maybe a little bit not so much on that level, but definitely worth watching, a film called Horror's Glory. This film details the experience of prostitution in 3 brothels around the world. One is in Thailand, one is in Bangladesh, and one is in Mexico. And no matter what your opinion of prostitution, whether you feel it should be legal or not, this film doesn't deal with those issues. This film deals with what the lived experience of sex workers that live in these places and what they go through, and lets them speak to their experience. It does not get into graphic detail of what goes on in every aspect of these things, obviously, but it does show some really good snapshots, I guess, if you will, of daily life and the humanity that lies behind the women that work in these places. So I think that that's a really good perspective to get into, talk about that there are actually people behind the women, what the customers and what the public sees, and they have thoughts and feelings of their own which they share, and there are poignant moments in it, definitely, so it's well worth checking out. last film, not for everybody. If you're into true crime, The Iceman. This film is about Richard Kolkinski, who was a hitman for the mafia and had a penchant for killing people. This guy is, man, he gives you the real chills when you listen to him speak. They get an interview. He's dead now, but they got an interview with him in prison, and wow, yeah, you know, you're talking about a guy who can describe in a calm, just deadpan manner about all manner of killing and admits to it. So yeah. Okay, we're getting out of the heavy stuff. We're still there. Lovecraft. This film is about H.P. Lovecraft, subtitled Fear of the Unknown. It's a biography of his life and his work. If you are a fan of H.P. Lovecraft as I am, you will dig this film. It really does a lot to show his life, detail various times in his life, how he wrote, and you know how he got his writings out, and also I think, you know, shows the foibles of this guy. Lovecraft was an eccentric guy. He had some definite neuroses, and his xenophobia was, I don't even know if you call that a neuroses, but he was definitely paranoid about immigration. He had this weird thing about that. But he was an imaginative writer for all his failures and personal conflicts. Presaged a lot of modern horror. Lovecraft was sort of like the bridge between Edgar Allan Poe and Stephen King, if you will, modern horror. He was that middle part, and I think that one day his work will finally get the attention of Hollywood, and hopefully maybe some decent films, not hackneyed, you know, sloppy jobs, but actually great films that might, say, deal with the Cthulhu mythos. Anyway, so dig it. It's a great thing. The last film, PBS a while back did this thing, A Question of God. I guess you can't see it really well, but it has actors that play C.S. Lewis and Freud respectively, and they debate each other in this imaginative debate about the existence of God. And then there's a round table of people, some believers, some not, who talk about each segment of the film and each issue that they bring up. And it's a good film to spark conversation. It's really well done. The guy that plays C.S. Lewis and the guy who plays Freud do such a great job that you're like thinking that they're the real dudes. And it's definitely a cool way of introducing a topic and getting people to think about it. So anyway, that concludes this edition of the Nexus, and I haven't decided quite what I'm going to do next. But you know, there's some things I have in mind. Down the road, and in a short time, I'd like to do an interview with somebody. I have a friend who I'd like to interview, and I think he knows perhaps who I'm talking about. A gadfly of our community and an all-around fun individual. But I'd like to pick his brain a little bit on camera. And anyway, take care, and I hope this video finds you well. And that's it for the Nexus. Peace.